Hello there, welcome to the Saroy channel. It's a beautiful evening tonight and I've got a stunning story for you, and it comes all the way from Walter in Toronto, Canada, and it's all about his Bigfoot encounter. So let's get started. You're really going to enjoy this story. Dear Sarah and all your listeners, my name is Walter and I live in Toronto, Canada, where I'm a taxi driver. In our work, we do sometimes get customers that require us to drive them over long distances. I never mind jobs like that because I enjoy being out on the open road, especially when we're driving in areas of immense beauty that can be so extraordinarily breathtaking. It is times like these when I truly appreciate my job as a taxi driver. One morning I was picking up a lady from Toronto and driving her all the way to Vancouver, where she was going to stay with relatives. The lovely lady I picked up was young and well-spoken, with a beautiful crisp English accent. She told me she lived in a little village in Hampshire and had come out to Canada to visit relatives that she'd never met before. "I'm going to stay with them for 3 weeks," she explained. "I love Canada," she gushed. "It's so beautiful here, and the countryside is just so different from England. I notice that everything here is so wide and so spread out, not like it is at home." We had a long conversation and then we both said nothing as we just absorbed the beauty of the Canadian countryside. I felt very proud to be a Canadian. As we drove past Lake Superior, which is the largest of the Great Lakes, my customer was oohing and ahhing in awe about all the beautiful views over the lake, and was so intrigued when I told her that it holds 10% of the world's fresh water. We continued on our way through Saskatchewan, where we saw a lot of very large deers crossing the road. "This has got to be a hunter's paradise," she reflected. "Did you see the humongous antlers on that thing? They're ginormous." Well, I reflected, people do hunt here, but it is a remote part of the world, you know. I could see her through my mirror that she was nodding. "I love the remoteness," she said. "It makes Canada so special, places like this." I stopped in Alberta to fill with gas, and then we went merrily on our way, where the scenic route consisted of flat, long areas of open green grassland. I pointed out the ski jumps from the 1988 Olympics and drove on to the Canadian Rockies. "Oh," gasped my customer, peering out of the window, "look at those mountains! They are simply magnificent. I've never seen views like this in my life. It's stunning." I pointed out Banff National Park, where she became very excited as we saw a huge bird flying over the wilderness. "Did you see that wingspan? Oh my word, I believe I've just seen a real live eagle for the first time in my life." "I've always wanted to see an eagle in nature," she said. "Now I have. I'm so happy." I could see her sitting in the back texting her friends back home with a look of extreme excitement on her face. I knew she was telling them about the eagle she'd just seen circling in the sky. We spoke about eagles for a long time and then finally reached Revelstoke in British Columbia. I noticed that daylight was receding and it was getting darker, and that was when something quite extraordinary happened, something that came as a huge surprise to both of us. On the side of the road, I thought I could see a huge bear. My customer cried out, "Please, please, slow down, slow down. Oh, please slow down, do you mind? I've never seen a bear in the wilderness before. This is my first time to see one in the wild." "I can do better than that," I said, pulling over to the side of the road, and where the creature was standing. Only the creature was not standing. It was squatting on the ground and appeared to be eating something. It looked like he was munching a chipmunk, and he was eating it like we would eat a hot dog. It was extraordinary. "What is that?" she asked. "That's not a bear. What is it?" The creature was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. Sitting down, he was about 4 foot tall, and his girth was much wider than any bear. He was covered in brown hair, but he had long arms with human-like fingers, which he was using to push the chipmunk into his mouth with great dexterity. I noticed that the way he ate reminded me of a monkey. For a moment he did not notice us sitting in the car watching him. But then again, maybe he did. But he did finally look up at us, and we were both just so surprised to see a human-like look on his face. Oddly enough, I did not feel any fear, and neither did my customer. We both sat there in stupefied silence, just gawking in amazement at the strange creature. The creature looked at us for a couple of seconds with large, brown, curious eyes. He then flung the remains of the chipmunk into some undergrowth a few yards away. We watched him rise up on long, slender, muscular legs. When he stood up, he was gargantuan, easily over 9 foot tall, and he stood erect like a man. He gave us one final glance and disappeared into the woods with 5-foot strides. "Did you see that?" gasped my customer. "What the heck was that?" "I don't know. It was far bigger than a bear." "What the heck was it?" she repeated. "It was like an animal, a monkey man. It was like nothing I've ever seen before." We sat there in silence, absorbing what we had just seen, and then I got out of the car to inspect the dead chipmunk. I showed it to my horrified customer. The creature had eaten all the innards, and I was left holding an empty skin, rather like a banana peel. When we finally made tracks and were back on the road, I glanced at the mirror at my client. I could see her tapping vigorously on her cell phone, making hundreds of texts to all her friends in England. I wished I could have been a fly on the wall and see what she was writing to her friends. So there you are. That was my Bigfoot encounter. Only I did not know that until I told my son what I had seen that day, and he had confirmed that I had seen the hairy man known as Bigfoot. Word of advice to any keen Bigfoot fans out there: do not assume every bear on the roadside is a bear. Look closer, it could indeed be a Bigfoot. If it had not been for that lovely English lady eager to see all the wildlife in Canada, I would have driven past that thing, not giving it a second thought. So there you are, that's my story, and I hope you and your listeners enjoyed it. I would really appreciate remaining anonymous, as I would not want my sanity questioned under any circumstances. But I do know what I saw that day, and it was definitely a Bigfoot. Thank you so much for that absolutely wonderful story from Alberta, from Toronto in Canada. Thank you very much. Until next time, goodbye.